Okay, everybody, I think that now is a good time to get started here. Well, friends, welcome to another Ignite Equity Capital Raising webinar. And as you know, we are always looking for companies to invest in that we think are very exciting, that have great supply-demand imbalances, and also short-term and longer-term catalysts as well. And that's why we are thrilled today to be joined by David Hutton, Managing Director of Rimfire Limited, because Rimfire is a Scandium company. And if you take nothing else away from today's call, you will understand Scandium and the supply-demand imbalance. But not only that, with Rimfire, there's a catalyst and a line of sight to huge value creation. And it's not just something that normally people talk about. We can actually demonstrate it. And with that, David, welcome.
Thank you, Greg. And it's a pleasure to be with yourself and the Ignite crew today.
Great. Hey, David. Just maybe start out a little bit with the Scandium market. Maybe just give an overview, and especially how it is so hard to find Scandium anywhere that's in a tier 1 sovereign jurisdiction.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So Scandium. So Scandium is an incredibly unique mineral. And I suppose one of the very interesting things about Scandium, it has a range of amazing properties. So as an alloy with aluminium, it can be used, it basically creates a metal that is super strong, super lightweight, corrosion resistant. So it's got applications in the manufacture of aerospace products, aeroplanes, missiles, defense. It can be used into naval shipbuilding. It can be used to increase the electrical efficiency of solid oxide fuel cells. And its electrical conductivity properties means that it also can be used, for example, in the construction of high tension power lines that we see across the countryside. It has these amazing properties and it is very much in demand. But the biggest issue with Scandium is that there is no primary source of Scandium anywhere in the world. The US, for example, which recognises the technological benefits of incorporating Scandium, it is totally reliant on Russia and China for its Scandium. It has no production. So therefore, it has to turn to places like Russia and China for its Scandium to satisfy the needs of its industries. Of course, the problem with that in these current geopolitically uncertain times is that you can see the constraints. So we know that Scandium has these amazing properties. It is incredibly high value. If I told you the cost of getting a ton of Scandium metal, where the prices range anything up to, $500 million US, it's incredibly high value. The number one problem with Scandium is not the knowledge of what it does and the uses, it's the supply constraints on Scandium. And what the world is crying out for, what the Western world is crying out for, Greg, is a secure long-term supply of Scandium in a friendly jurisdiction.
And that is where Rimfire fits in, doesn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. There is, and I said, the US doesn't produce any Scandium. And there's no primary Scandium mine anywhere in the world. The only long-term secure, potential supply of Scandium in a friendly jurisdiction is in Australia. More specifically, it's in central New South Wales, and more specifically, it's about 75 kilometres west of the town of Parkes in central New South Wales and the town of Fifield. And this is where Rimfire, as you say, comes in, because there are 3 companies that are basically operating in the Scandium space in this epicenter, this sovereign risk-free epicenter. And that is ourselves, and we are joined by Sunrise and also Rio Tinto.
Right.
And so when you look at the respective land holdings out there, there are these 3 companies that are really busy in the Scandium space. And in terms of what I would argue, the Scandium prospective land holding, Rimfire has the largest Scandium prospective land holding in the Fifield district.
Right. And speaking of Fifield, maybe talk a little bit about your projects.
Yeah, so it's all about Scandium. So just for the participants' knowledge, for Scandium, it occurs essentially as a flat-lying blanket of mineralisation either at surface. One of our deposits, the Melrose deposit, it actually sticks out of the ground. So it's a flat-lying deposit either at the surface or just below the surface, and it is a result of the weathering of ultramafic rocks or a certain rock type we call the pyroxenite, which have an amount of scandium in them to start with. And as these rocks weather at the surface, the scandium is enriched. Okay, so these ultramafic rocks run all the way through our projects. We currently have 5,000 tonnes of scandium oxide in resources, and while they aren't as large as our immediate neighbours of Sunrise and Rio, the key attribute of the Rimfire ground is that we have a pipeline of targets, whereas the Rio and the Sunrise deposits they're effectively landlocked. We have multiple targets. We have a pipeline to building a very large resource inventory.
Right,
so, Greg. We've already developed 2 mineral resource estimates. Okay, we have about 5,000 tonnes of scandium oxides, as I said, in resource estimates mineral resource estimates at the moment. These are all JORC code resource estimates. We have an additional exploration target for scandium, which we talk about exploration targets in a range, but there's anything between 15 to 46,000 tonnes of scandium oxide, and we also have another 2 or 3 prospects that we're busy developing that will go into resource estimates sooner rather than later as well.
Right. And David, can you just, for people that, again, don't quite understand the overall market, 5,000 tons, how would that fit into the overall global scandium market, and especially from those countries that are in a tier 1 jurisdiction for a geopolitical point of view?
Yeah, so that would certainly be, at the upper. Well, that would certainly be at the upper range of the resource estimates. I mean, as I say, we're at this stage where we stand, we're small compared to Sunrise and Rio.
Right.
But by the time we deliver into these mineral resource estimates that we're looking to work with, we'll potentially end up with anywhere between 20 to 30 to 40,000 tonnes of scandium oxide, and alongside Rio and Sunrise, that will make Fifield globally dominant. There'll be nothing like it anywhere in the world.
Got it. And the MREs you mentioned before about the upgrades, maybe just take us through the game plan for the next 12 months for the company.
Yeah. So the game plan is, as I say, it's about building this resource inventory. We have 5,000 tonnes of scandium oxide at the moment. So the very first thing that we will be doing is we're turning what we call the Currajong prospect into a mineral resource estimate. So about 2 months ago, we finished a very extensive air core drilling program. We're intersecting some really strong grades of scandium oxide there at Currajong, and this is about a 3 kilometre long ultramafic belt. So by the end of September, we will have received all the assays from that drilling, and we will have converted those drill results into a resource estimate. Okay, which will be
September 2025, just to be clear. So about 6
just
weeks
to be
away.
clear. Yeah, that's right. So literally over the next couple of weeks, Greg, you'll see further drill results, updates, and then culminating in a resource estimate. September 2025. In addition, we have the Murga exploration target that I referred to as well. That requires some more infill air core drilling. So we'll be looking to do that through the remainder of this calendar year. And then certainly early in the new year, we will have, the aim is, if successful, to convert that exploration target into an additional or further mineral resource estimate. And then the third string to the bow, as part of news flow and this aggressive development of scandium, is that we have the 100% owned Rabbit Trap Scandium project, which is a very new project for us. It lies just north of the Rio Tinto property. And here we have historic scandium drill hits associated with geophysical anomalies. And importantly, when we look at the data, we have about 4 or 5 new, previously undrilled magnetic anomalies that look really rich, really prospective for scandium. So the third string to the bow, in addition to getting these 2 mineral resource estimates up, is to complete the land access negotiations. And by the end of the year, when the crops come off at Rabbit Trap because it's all under wheat fields and stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
We'd like to be in there testing the significance of these new magnetic anomalies. So it's a really exciting pathway to developing these other scandium targets.
Yeah. David, as I said, the future looks very, very bright. But also what I alluded to earlier in the introduction was there's a clear line of sight to value here that we can talk about. But before we get to it, we have to talk a little bit about why that has occurred and the arbitration with GPR. But more importantly, can you just tell us a little bit about the background, but also going forward with it?
Yeah. So a number of these prospects are sitting on earning and joint. They're subject to earning and joint venture agreements with GPR or Golden Plains Resources, specifically the Fifield and the Avondale projects. We've been exploring the ground in conjunction with GPR for a number of years. And as a result of an external court judgment, nothing to do with Rimfire, we believe there had been a change of control at GPR, and exercising our rights under the agreements, we served termination notices on GPR pending this change of control. The arbitration, or the arbitrator in the arbitration hearing, just recently decided that the notices essentially were to be set aside. So the arbitrator didn't agree with our point of view. And so we've obviously announced that. We've had a look at the findings. We've decided not to appeal the arbitrator's findings. And there's a hearing that's listed, I think, for early September. We've made this public, where the arbitrator will make final orders with respect to, how the earn and joint venture agreements will progress going forward, and issues like costs and things. So that's a bit of the background. But the reality is that the earning and joint venture agreements for Fifield and Avondale, they remain on foot. So in terms of the responsibilities, the obligations of GPR, right, and also in terms of the project equity that Rimfire has and will potentially end up with if GPR completes its obligations, nothing has changed.
Exactly.
So as it stands right now, and we're confident, and we're certainly seeking to work cooperatively and cordially with the new management of GPR, but nothing in essence has changed. So at Fifield, if I can just give you a little bit of detail, at Fifield, GPR are entitled to earn up to a 50.1% interest in the Fifield project. To do so, they have to complete the expenditure component. So they have to spend $3.6 million, of which there's about $225,000 left to spend. But importantly, they have to also, before they get their equity, there are a series of obligations around mine development and mine finance as well. And so up until those two obligations are fulfilled, Rimfire remains in control. We run the management committee that actually develops the work programs and puts the work programs in place, and we issue cash calls to GPR. Similarly, at Avondale, we are still in the earning phase, and for GPR to earn up to potentially 75%, it's in the order of about another $5 million worth of expenditure that still has to be spent, right, in order for them to get that interest. And similarly, at Avondale, we run the management committee, we develop programs, and we put them up, we approve them, and we cash call them. So in terms of the practical operating day-to-day basis, nothing has changed. There's still a structure in place. And as I say, we're very looking forward to working cooperatively with the new owners of GPR.
Right. Well, David, nothing has changed, but something has changed, which is the share price. And this layer lies the opportunity for investors, because the share price for Rimfire, unfortunately, has come down over the last number of months. And which, in your estimation, has this overhang been one of the key causes?
Yeah, exactly, Greg. Look, my view, we saw when the first lot of mineral resource estimates came out in September 2024, we saw fantastic share price appreciation. I think we went up to sort of circa 8 cents. And then, of course, the arbitration was announced, and I firmly believe that the arbitration, the overhang, and I look importantly, and I'll acknowledge that the uncertainty around the arbitration has certainly created an environment where the share price has come off, which we've seen today. But as I said, critically, none of this has changed the fundamental prospectivity or the technical opportunity, the Scandium opportunity on the projects. None of that has changed. So, I'm confident that we can certainly get the price up again.
Right. And it's a clear marking that to back up what you're saying in the form of Sunrise Energy, because Sunrise share price has gone nothing short, David, of parabolic. Isn't that right?
Correct. That's right. And literally the Sunrise property, the Sunrise resource, the Sunrise geology. I mean, it literally is a stone's throw from our Murga exploration target.
And friends, this is not some 500-kilometer neurology play. This is literally next door.
It's literally, you could put 1 foot either side of the fence.
Okay.
Yeah, it's literally next door. Yes.
Right, exactly. And now, given today's capital raise, that also will fund the upcoming works. So now you'll be fully funded. The arbitration, I should say, is in the rear view mirror, and now the path where it is forward, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the capital raise enables us to strengthen the balance sheet to really drive these, as I say, the new MREs, for Murga and for Currajong to deliver that, and also get stuck into the Rabbit Trap project as well. Yes.
Right. David, we couldn't be more excited. Now, in closing, before we close, obviously we want to do some Q&A, and I do see some people have WhatsApped me, David, and I could see some questions here on the system, and I'm just going to read them out as I speak. Here, I'll read the first one to you. What is the risk of further litigation costs required to be funded?
And it's a little hard to answer that one, simply because, as I said, there's a directions hearing in early September where there'll be rulings about costs. So I think, in all fairness, it would be preemptive of me to get ahead of what the arbitrator might say at that directions hearing. So I can't say any more, unfortunately.
Okay. And second one, how will Rimfire work with GPR going forward? There's a very aggressive disagreement. This is a classic question. Is it a worry about the practical? I'm summarizing here for you, whoever's answered this question. But from a practical point of view, you're working with somebody where there was a large disagreement. What's the path forward?
I think the path forward, well, first of all, the agreements, the mechanisms within the agreement, they're all very transparent. It's all documented. So I think what we have to do is we play by the book. That's the first thing. And I think ultimately we have to basically recognise that what we're doing is in the best interest for all shareholders, and that we have a tremendous opportunity here. And how do I put this nicely? I think we just have to be all grown up about it, and promise to work as best as we can.
Yeah, and also I think that adding to that, economically, you're certainly aligned, no question about that. Everyone wants to make more money, so for sure. Another question here: if GPR returns to fulfill their initial JV contract, how much of the current assets will GPR own? I think that you actually answered that earlier in the day today, earlier in the session. Excuse me. What is left for Rimfire shareholders? Maybe just summarize that point again, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so if GPR fulfil all of its obligations, so on the Fifield project, GPR will have 50.1%, Rimfire will have 49.9%. At Avondale, if they fulfil all of their obligations, which I outlined as, there's a lot of financial obligations yet to go, they have the right to earn up to 75%, and Rimfire would have 25%. But importantly, the company's other 100% owned assets, so we're talking about Rabbit Trap, we're not talking about base metals, but there's the Broken Hill ground, there's our copper gold ground at Cal. None of that falls within the GPR remit. That is all separate. So Rimfire shareholders still enjoy the full benefit of those other 100% owned projects.
Right. Dave, another question here. Board and management participation, always a key question. How much will board and management be participating into the capital raise in a way of cash or salary?
I can't tell you what the exact amounts are at the moment. But the board and management have certainly indicated that they'd be looking to participate in the cap raise.
Got it. And second, yeah, that's the same question. Apologies about that there. Okay, everybody. David, in closing, if there's one or 2 points you'd like every shareholder or prospective shareholder to know about Rimfire, what would they be?
I think Rimfire, we offer a unique opportunity, a unique exposure with upside to a very unique, high valuable metal, Scandium. Importantly, we bring a lot of technical firepower to this exploration opportunity. We've been operating in this part of the world for over 20 years. We have a very strong, technically focused exploration team that knows how to drill and convert these opportunities into resources. And importantly, we know the locals, so we know how to get on the ground and actually do things as well. So I think that's the message. A really interesting commodity, incredibly high value. We know how to do what we have to do. We're putting the arbitration behind us and we're getting on with the job.
David, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. Anybody, if you have follow-up questions, just send them in to us, WhatsApp them, and we'll get them answered for you. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Greg.